Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam. Oh boy.
Find the TFS pod and our playlists wherever you stream your podcast or music. Follow us on X at TheFinalScore35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 201st edition of the TFS pod. Last one of November. We're in the final week of college football. NFL got a little over a month left. College basketball, we're in the midst of feast week. What a time to be alive. Lots to talk about this week. Per usual, let's get to it. I'll start with the podium, and this came out last week. It's actually, I think it originally came out toward the end of last year, and it really surfaced again last week. So I'm going to talk about Temple basketball. Hyseer Miller's this guy for Temple. He's under investigation by the feds for alleged point shaving. Really? Did you think that if you let gambling be involved in sports of all nature and it's gotten so big that this wouldn't happen? I guarantee it's going on more than this, first and foremost. But this dude's screwed. It's, that leads off, this is an ESPN article. Federal authorities are investigating whether former Temple men's basketball player Hyseer Miller bet on his own games and manipulated the outcomes of Owls games he played in, according to sources with direct knowledge of the situation. That's not good. What is this? Blue chips with Tony point shaving.
It's happened before.
Ridiculous. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good at all. Then Iowa had it. The Aaron Eulis guy was only suspended for a year for some sort of gambling. I don't know if he was point shaving, but
Point shaving is criminal, so I doubt it.
What was it? Boston College that did it. I think it's the 30 for 30.
Arizona State
playing for the mob. Yeah, that's some sketchy stuff, and I would not be surprised if, as we get more into it, more stuff comes out about more teams and more players doing it, and it's just going to keep continuing. I'm surprised it doesn't happen. It probably happens in the NFL too. In any sport,
it's not blatantly obvious all the time, but it's one of those things where if you watch it, like that 30 for 30 on the Arizona State guy, it's just a turnover here or a bad shot there or something, to cover a spread or not cover a spread. It's a little too easy to do, I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And more people can directly get impacted positively from gambling. I mean, obviously,
right.
NCAA athletes can't do it, but it's legal in a lot of states now. So
yeah.
You want to throw in there what also should be as illegal is giving a quarterback $12 million while
jokes on them, because
while showing up with the offensive coordinator that helped Michigan cheat.
Yeah.
While he was the offensive coordinator at Michigan, but that whole thing is just reeks.
It's going to be hilarious when he sucks.
Yeah. Well, like Chris put it, how many 18-year-olds do you know that have $12 million in their pocket that are motivated to do much?
None.
Of course, most people that have $12 million that have never had that kind of money would have no idea how to do it. They'd blow through it and piss it away anyway. So that's another topic for multiple pods. All right, my podium. Playoff rankings just came out. Indiana obviously notably fell. We'll talk more about the week that was in football here shortly. But as I sat and watched the Notre Dame Army game the other night, love Army, always have. Two cousins that went to school there, one that's on his way to being a general currently, one that did his 5 years of time, graduated third in his class. Big West Point fan. They're clearly, they're a service academy. Like, they pay their guys because they're going into the Army for 5 years. They're not paying NIL. They go to class all day. They do drills. They do all this stuff all day. Their only respite is practice. Find that funny. Like Allen Iverson would find that funny. We're talking about practice. That's their time off. They have to study, and then it's lights out by a certain time. I mean, they're getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. Insanity. My point is, nice win for Notre Dame. They blasted both Army and Navy. But aside from Texas A&M in the opener, which I'm not going to take that away from you, that was impressive. Tell me a win that Notre Dame has that is more impressive than any win that Indiana has? I'll pause and I'll wait. And, oh, by the way, Indiana lost, and, somewhat handily after battling for a quarter and a half or so to Ohio State, although the score may be a little conflated with Ohio State scoring a late touchdown and so on and so forth. They lost on the road to the number 2 team in the country, Ohio State. Notre Dame lost at home to a below 500 MAC team. Notre Dame is ranked 5 in today's playoff rankings. Indiana is ranked 11th. Now, I'm not arguing that Notre Dame wouldn't probably smoke Indiana 8 times out of 10 head-to-head. That's not the point. The point is if you national media pundits are going to put Indiana on blast for not having big wins, and of a schedule, by the way, that was made for them. They didn't choose who they play. And you're not going to put Notre Dame on blast, who's not even in a conference, who's too ballless to even play in a conference, and they're making up their other games by playing Northern Illinois in the service academies. Again, no knock on Army, Navy. Both having great seasons. Can't wait to watch that game in a few weeks. Can't wait to see if Army wins the AAC this weekend, I think it is, right? Against Tulane. Or is that next weekend? Whatever. But the point is why does Notre Dame get this preferential treatment over Indiana? Well, I know why. Because Indiana is the losingest Division I program of all time, and so they get no love. They just immediately go to, it's got to be fake because they haven't played anybody. That's horseshit. They have the largest point differential plus for any team in Division I, and all you want to do is talk about their lack of strength of schedule when again. Okay, I'll give you Notre Dame beat Texas A&M on the road. Indiana lost to Ohio State on the road. Those are their, quote, 2 like-ish road games. All other things equal, Indiana doesn't have a bad loss. Notre Dame has a horrible loss. So I'll be interested in how all this plays out. I think Indiana probably smokes Purdue this weekend, and they should get in the playoffs, in my opinion. It's not about what SEC team that you want to get in there. It's not about your TV ratings. It's about who the best teams are. And in my opinion, based on what you have factually in front of you on paper for who they played, Indiana is better than a 3-loss SEC team. You can at me all you want. Then if you don't believe me, then let's play the game and figure it out. Let's make it a 16-team playoff. Let's make a play-in game. I just think it's ridiculous. Anybody who wants to call out Indiana and all of a sudden make an excuse for a 3-loss Ole Miss or a 3-loss Alabama or who's another 3-loss? A 3-loss even South Carolina. And just assume that they're better. Are they? Are they? The 3 best teams in the SEC last week, or 3 arguably of the best teams, lost to 3 500 teams.
Yep. I mean, we've been saying it for really since week 2. There's not really a great team. Like, there's no clear-cut best team, which makes this playoff great, but at the same time, it's like,
that's gonna be.
I give the committee. It's tough. It's gonna be a tough. It's gonna
be tough.
And
it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough.
Well, and they just said tonight, Ward, I cheat my ass off Manuel, Michigan's AD, just said tonight that we will definitely put a 3-loss team ahead of a 2-loss team if we think they're a better team. So again, there's no objectivity. It's all subjective because they don't have ranking profiles. Like if you did these all as blind and did them completely blind, I bet you they'd come up with 12 different playoff teams than if they looked at it just for what the brand names were.
Right.
I'd be willing to guarantee that. In fact,
it would be very interesting to see. All right, that's the podium. Let's get to throwing a flag. Literally, it should have been. I think there was a flag, but it wasn't. Should have been an ejection. Shedeur Sanders, one of our favorite sons of this podcast. We love Dion. We love LeBron. We love their kin. Good Lord, I mean, this guy. Yeah, he got hit low on one play. He's probably pissed. That was kind of a cheap shot. Whatever, that happens. It's football. There's a bad call. He shoves the official. The head official. It's not like it was some side dude. He shoves the official. Nothing happens. I swear, if that was any other player, they would have been ejected, suspended. Like, that's a rule. You can't put touch your hands the official.
Yeah. Quay Walker, even in the NFL.
Quay Walker for the Packers did it when they played the Lions, and he got kicked out of the game a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then nothing happened. Just because of his daddy. This is ridiculous. Dude's he's a wiener. I wouldn't want him on my team. Like, he's a good quarterback.
I hope he goes to the Cowboys. That's what they're
The
saying.
Giants want him. Ooh, gosh.
Oh, good. They can suck worse than they do with Daniel Jones.
I mean, he's good. Like, he's talented. But he also has... Travis Hunter is very, very good. He has some... his line sucks, but he's a horrible attitude. And he doesn't have daddy to coddle him every 2 seconds.
They're saying that Jerry Jones should swing at the two.
He would not be the
combo.
coach of the NFL. No way.
I don't think so either.
No way. All right. That is our flag for this week. Let's get to Around the World.
All right, first down. I always say first down now. Around the World, the first spot is presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports, sponsorship, and much more. Learning more about them today, at norrissportsgroup.com. Saw on LI that Billy was with the trophy. That's how he and I used to run when I ran sponsorships at Amway. With the Coach's Trophy. He was with it in Miami with the new Coach's Poll sponsor. So shout out to Norris for continuing to work with the AFCA on the Crystal Ball Trophy.
Yeah, big time stuff. All right, let's go Week 13 review. Let's start in the Big Ten. We'll do Michigan State last, as we always do.
Did actually a better, I'll preface it with
good
this.
Week.
One of the better, from our preseason picks. I don't know how we did in our contest, but in our preseason picks, it was one of our better weeks.
Both 6-2. We're I still have got a 1-game lead. I mean, I gotta give yourself a pat on the back. I've been reading books. 93-74 me. You 92-75. That's pretty freaking good. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of wins.
It's hard. It's hard to keep.
My FanDuel doesn't say that, but
I mean, if you lose one, you're screwed.
Not true.
Let's start with Indiana, Ohio State.
Great drive. Indiana came out
swinging.
Ohio State was on their heels, didn't blitz, and then they got smart and they blitzed the rest of the game.
Indiana couldn't run the ball.
Actually, I thought they ran the ball better than they passed it because they couldn't pass pro. They have a couple of nice backs.
Defense looked good.
Ellison and the other back, the other young back that they have,
Lawton.
Lawton, nice backs. I thought Indiana moved it in some decent chunks. I mean, we're talking 5, 6, 7 yards, not 15, 20, 30 yards. But, I thought Indiana acquitted itself pretty well. It came down to special teams. The botched punt, which led to a touchdown, and then there was a punt return for a touchdown, both, I think, in the first half, right?
I
made it 21-7 at
Downs
the half.
One was in the second half, I think.
I think those two plays right there, take those out, and it's 24-15. I mean, I'm not saying that Indiana wins without those, but I think the score isn't necessarily indicative of the fact that Indiana really was pretty competitive, given the fact that they hadn't played a game quite of that magnitude this year. And they had actually, interestingly, I felt like they had more pressure on them to prove the pundits wrong than Ohio State did to win that game.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Ohio State, they played well. They did. I'm not a big fan of what Ryan Day did at the end, kudos for sliding down. No, then quarterback sneak it twice to get in just to be a dick. You're playing Indiana, dude.
Yeah, and then, you flash up on your scoreboard that, Ohio State wins. Google that. It's I get it. You're having some fun, but Cignetti didn't say that about Ohio State. He said Ohio State and Michigan suck too when he said Purdue sucks.
But it's Indiana. This isn't
exactly.
Michigan.
It's not Michigan. You want to troll Michigan? You want to troll Penn State? You want to troll even new Big Ten member Oregon who beat you this year? Fine. Troll somebody that's at your caliber. Indiana has lost to you 81 times in history. No team has lost to a single team more, I don't think, than Indiana has lost to Ohio State.
Will Howard did the cigarette, putting it out with his foot.
Effing grow up, Ohio State.
Ryan Day's a child. He's a weird.
You have a talented team. Now, I'll say, what's going to hurt you come playoff time is your offensive line is a patchwork right now. But
be an issue
Howard's a gamer of a quarterback. He's not spectacular, but he's a gamer. You got phenomenal receivers, as always. You got 2 great running backs, and your defense is really stout this year, finally for the first time in a while. Show me what you can do against your rival Michigan and not choke, and then flashed up on your scoreboard. To do that against Indiana, really? That's a Bush League. Why don't you rush the field, too, at the same time? That just
wouldn't surprise me.
Bush.
Ridiculous.
Maybe speaking of rush the field, let's go to Nebraska game next.
Yeah, Nebraska. Bowl eligible for the
first time in 600 games where they had a chance to get into a bowl game. They won.
Yeah.
They won handily.
Yeah, Wisconsin sucks. Luke Fickell, that's not working out too well for them. We'll see what happens this weekend. How about bad Illinois versus Rutgers? What is Rutgers doing? They're losing. Where was it tied?
No, they were winning.
They're winning,
Yeah.
and they called. Illinois is about to kick a 50-yard field goal. Shiana calls timeout.
They're winning by 3.
Gets a 4th and 13 completion. Ends up scoring the go-ahead touchdown with
4 seconds left. Yeah, and because he called the timeout somewhat late, Illinois got a chance to see that ball was 15 yards short and way left, and they had no prayer, so they decided not to kick the field goal.
Yep, scored.
And the guy may as well have been unguarded. Threw it across the middle. No timeouts left. Didn't keep them in front, and they win. Now, Rutgers has already got 6 wins, so they're bowl eligible, so it didn't necessarily matter. But what a Michigan State way to lose a game.
Iowa beats Maryland. Maryland's horrible. They have a bad season. Quarterback got hurt. Whatever.
Yeah, and Iowa was on their 3rd-string quarterback.
Michigan finally scored more than 10 points. I mean, they beat Northwestern's terrible. I mean, Michigan ran the ball well on them, but, I mean, Northwestern is atrocious.
Right. Michigan still can't throw the ball more than 10
yards.
Not
Not a good team. USC beats UCLA. Did not watch a second of that. That was late. USC becomes bowl eligible.
I was mistaken. Last week I said it's only on the Peacock, but it was actually on NBC and the Peacock. In case you want to watch it on a glitchy app instead for some reason.
10:30. The one that really, I didn't watch much of it, but infuriated me was Penn State. Once again, James the idiot Franklin skates by the hair.
They just ran out the clock the last 5.5 minutes.
Because Minnesota's worse because PJ Fleck, the barber, does not know how to coach. Minnesota blew that game. They should have beaten, but that's been their season. They've blown games. And Penn State,
they've lost a lot of close games.
Runs the fake punt, wins. That's hilarious, by the way. I'm looking at the TV. Coach Case, and there's a Leslie Chow.
That's a match made in heaven. Duke getting their ass kicked by Kansas.
But Penn State, they're not. I don't think they're good. They're not.
They're number 4 in the rankings.
It's BS because of their record. They played nobody aside from Ohio
State. They beat
State.
Nobody. You want to talk about that? I mean, they played Ohio State. They didn't play Michigan.
Didn't play Oregon.
They didn't play Oregon.
They beat USC lucky because USC blew it.
And they beat Washington at home. They beat UCLA at home. Yeah. I mean, you talk about strength of schedule. Penn State's right there with him and almost loses at Minnesota. Probably should have lost at Minnesota.
Yep. All right, let's talk Michigan State. First half
Tale of two halves.
First half was awesome. Michigan State was rolling. They were running the ball okay. They were making some pass plays. Defense looked decent. They stood up when they had to.
Shitty second half Spartans came out.
Then the second half, it's did they make any adjustments? No. Did they do anything? No. Were they sleeping? Probably. Started to miss a little bit. I think they punted 5 times in a row. Hardly got any first downs. I think the only time they got into Purdue territory was when Purdue turned it over on downs.
Yeah.
Just an awful, Childs, as good as he was in the first half, was pretty suspect in the second half. I mean, guys dropped passes, sure, but he was not on. It was just weird.
Well, I mean, even Marsh was dropping passes.
The line was terrible per usual against a bad Purdue defense. Michigan State got 137 yards rushing. That's good for Michigan State. Purdue gives up 200 plus per game on the ground. That's not good enough. Velling got killed, but he might play this week. I think that was more of a scare than anything.
Yeah, well, I just wonder. I wish they would. I know they can't probably disclose it for HIPAA reasons, but I wonder what that
stinger
was.
Probably.
Took him to the hospital and he stayed overnight. So my guess it had to do with back, ribs, lung, something.
Yeah, maybe
he got lit up.
Maybe that he punctured a lung or something. That was my thought. But Michigan State's defense. I get it. 8 guys down in the secondary. That's hard, but holy cow! They're not even in position.
Finally got a sack. Actually got 3.
Lucky. Forced a turnover. Jordan Turner's been really good. He's lately been a little more quiet, but he should be an all Big Ten second or third team guy. He's been the catalyst of Michigan State's defense even being remotely functional.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State's D tackles have been okay. Their D ends are terrible. Don't get home. No gap integrity. Do not set the edge. They're horrible. Michigan State's corners. Ed Woods. How many times are you going to not turn around?
I feel like I'm watching Chris L. Rucker.
Yeah, just a piss poor Michigan State second. And it's banged up, I get it. But, Purdue dropped so many that touchdown 25 yards ahead of somebody.
Gross.
terrible. Special teams for Michigan State was decent. Punting was good. Kim had, made his field goal. The coverage for Michigan State on special teams continues to be awful, especially on punts because of bad snapping, I think.
Yeah, the snaps take a year
to
get back
they're
there.
Floaters for sure.
Yeah. And so he's got to rush it, and he's kicking it lower, and, struggles there. But Mana will want us to grade him.
B minus.
I'd give him, B. I mean, I don't think that he didn't turn the ball over. I don't think that we put him in the best position to make good plays. His receivers that typically help him out didn't help him out at all in the second half, in particular Marsh. He had one case where Marsh dropped it. It was a little obscured by a tight end who ran a very similar route. So obviously that's a mistake, not on the QB. I thought Foster was really good. The receivers were fine. A B. Again, kind of tale of two halves. Like you want to go B in the first half, D in the second half for a C overall. Offensive line though is a D. They're just bad. Like Baldwin. I mean, I got to imagine that they're redshirting the one other really good guy. Otherwise, he'd long be gone.
He didn't get in at all.
That's my biggest fear is that unless they go out and they really dig the portal, they are not developing anybody great on the offensive line, and the DNs are just sus as well. I'd give our D line, our interior, I'd give a solid B plus. I'd give our ends a D minus. I mean, they got a couple sacks, but they just don't. They don't have the moves to get home, whether it's power, whether it's finesse. Linebackers, fine. Take Halliday out of the equation. I think the linebackers have been pretty good all year, which we knew was going to be a strength. Defensive backs, that's C minus D plus, but again, some of that's attributable to they're playing guys that probably didn't expect to play much this year. So special teams, I think the return game has been pretty nominal, like nothing really. The kicking and the punting though has been good. So for that game, I mean, I'd give them a fine grade too. But
coaching, what would you give coaching in that game?
I just think the offensive, like something's got to give in the second half because Michigan State averages 7 points a game.
Play calling,
that's what I'm talking about. In the second half, like why you're pressing? I get you don't want to lose to a bad team, but you can't play to lose. You need to play to win, and you keep the pedal to the metal. Like it's like playing the prevent or whatever. Just go out and play loose and play free. Don't be so worried about turnovers. Don't be so worried about a mistake. Go out there and play because when Childs is doing that, Michigan State's offense cooks, and you can't get away with Rutgers as a decent team. Like Michigan State can't play for just one half against Rutgers and win that game. They got to show up and play a good game for 4 quarters to win and get to a bowl game. And yes, as much as there's 9,000 bowls and everybody's eligible for a bowl, it seems like it's important for Michigan State to get that extra practice to develop some guys and to show there's some growth because they haven't been to a bowl game since the Peach Bowl in 21. So yes, this week is important, and so important that the tickets are going for a whopping $15. Which I get it sucks. The last game of the season is when the students are on Thanksgiving break, and that's 18,000 of your seats that you sell, but
right,
that still is not a good look.
Yeah.
I mean, that is why numbnuts Haller would have argued last year, well, that's why I moved the Penn State game. Well, that was dumb too. So, like, figure it out. Like, find a way to incentivize it. Fine, you want to give tickets away for cheap or whatever. You want to give them to charity. You want to give them to some kids. Great. Just fill the stadium with bodies, right? So
not going to happen.
I don't know.
College football at large, you touch on Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, but then also the 3 SEC teams.
Oklahoma smoked Alabama.
Oklahoma, crappy team, smokes. Alabama has, first time since I think 2004, they didn't score a touchdown in a game. Florida, back-to-back big wins.
Good for Florida.
Yep.
When Florida's good, college football's good.
Back-to-back good wins over potential playoff teams.
Yep.
Beat them both. And then you had Auburn beating A&M in a crazy game. Too bad that A&M guy just flat dropped the 2-point conversion. That was brutal for them. But
that was too bad.
But
Kansas over Colorado.
Kansas is on a roll. That's 3 big wins.
They're one away from a bowl. Arizona State with that was the weirdest ending I've ever seen. Screw BYU though. They were horrible all year. They played with fire all year, and it's bitten them the last 2 weeks. Paper Tiger team. Iowa State staying alive. They still have an outside chance of the playoff.
Well, biggest and best scenario for the Big 12, which is a mess, is Arizona State against Iowa State in the championship game. So
I'd take
the fighting
Cyclones versus Sun Devils. Kind of fun. All right, I think that's all college football wise. Oh, Mac Brown got fired.
I gotta do my grades real quick. I'm not doing the power rankings, but A is for awesome. Talked about some of them. Arizona State, SMU, and
like
Kansas. I didn't have anybody for B is better than expected. C is for come on, man. Rutgers for that choke job, and Ohio State for what they did at the end of the game. Just take a knee, be a man. D is for duly noted. Talked about 3 of these: Auburn, Florida, and Oklahoma, and then Iowa State. They kind of lost 2 in a row, were left for dead, and they've risen up a little bit. Nice comeback win at Utah. And then F is for fraud, Colorado, Gladly, A&M, Ole Miss, Bama. Like I said, their lowest point total since 2004.
All right, let's go mailbag.
All right, I think it's a light mailbag this week.
Very light, that's all right.
Chris gave me a couple of golf ones. So I don't know if I sent you this TikTok, Reiner, if you saw it, but there was a favorite less common golf slang terms.
Okay.
And so one that was in the podcast that I had never heard of before, or in that TikTok that was hilarious, was hit it like a Wisconsin stripper. A little fat but still dancing like on a par 3 when you... I thought that was brilliant. One of mine is, I will admit, is extremely morbid and probably low class, but when I hit a ball, or Ryan hits a ball, or whoever we're playing with hits a ball that disappears into the muck, I call it going value jet. Look it up if you don't know what that means. This has a couple different meanings, and for the sake of some of our listeners, I'll keep it G-rated. When you have a putt that lips out, a prom date.
Yep.
What are some of your other...
That's really it. I don't really use anything.
Rockefeller.
That.
Died in the hole.
Yeah.
Those are a couple of them. Chris had... Let's see, another one that Chris had, which is another golf one. Let's see. We've kind of talked about this, I think, in the past, but what's a golf rule you blatantly don't follow because it's absurd?
The divots.
Divots is definitely one.
Terrible. Terrible rule.
I mean, a lot of people say, I know gallery rule. Generally speaking, I don't think we've ever had a problem, unless it's like leaf golf, of finding a ball that should be in play. So I get that one. I haven't had to necessarily invoke that. I would say also for amateurs, like stroke and distance, you want to speed up the play of game. We play everything lateral, no matter if it's a white stake, red stake, yellow stake, everything's lateral. First of all, we're not that good that it really matters. I get it in like a tournament or whatever, you'd have to play it the right way, and I understand the rule, but I think that's pretty absurd for amateurs when you're talking pace of play. Chris said, no outside food and beverage. Right. I definitely agree with that. We bring snacks all the time. And on golf trips, we definitely mix up our own drinks in the Yeti, which I think a lot of people do, rather than pay umpteen dollars for a beer or whatever out of the beverage cart. Those are some of the basics. As the golf season is still going on, Joel Damon.
Yeah, he got it. Yeah, that's
had to make a 5-footer to make it into to make the cut, right? And then he had to shoot a 64 or better
64
on the last day, and shot a 64 to stay with his tour card, which was awesome. Love that guy. If you've watched Full Swing on Netflix, you know why. If you haven't, watch it and you'll know why. He's a likable dude. Guy. Light mailbag. Nothing from Mitchapalooza this week. It's a holiday week. I suspect there will be a decent amount going into next week because there's so much going on in sports right now. But
all right, that's spot 2. Let's get to spot 3, college basketball, Big Ten. Does that mean since Big Ten starts next week, we have to pick player? Like, are we going to do that again? Maybe after next week we can do it.
I think we do it from January. I mean, it's weird that it starts next week already.
Yeah, it's early. But college basketball, I mean, nothing. I mean, Wisconsin's looked pretty good to start the season.
Duke's getting smoked right now by Kansas.
Scoring well.
Duke lost to Kentucky a couple
smoked
weeks or so ago.
Arizona at
smoked
Arizona.
Arizona. They're getting smoked by Kansas now. Duke doesn't really have a big guy in 7,000-year-old AWOD. Hunter Dickinson is probably dominating if I were to guess. I haven't looked, but he's a 7'2", 15th year senior, so you expect that he would do well. The Maui Invitational, I will say, is really as good. Advertised. I mean, every game really has been a close game, minus Michigan State blowing out Colorado, and then today, even it was an 8-point game, but it was doable, minus a little stretch in that game from Michigan State. Around the some losses. UConn has lost twice.
Yeah, well, Dan Hurley's
he's going a little by the way of Bobby Knight, but I will say after tonight. After we had the DEI ref, I can see why he went ballistic, because she literally, I counted, blew at least 8 blatantly obvious calls. And now I can understand refs miss a call or two a game, but like 8 in the second half alone. We're talking about a blatant travel in front of her. We're talking about 2 out of bounds is right in front of her. We're talking about a foul on a 3-point shot where there was the person wasn't even touched. They flopped and fell down when they came down to get a landing foul, and Richardson wasn't even in his landing zone. The jump across when Michigan State was making a little bit of a press at the end, same thing, a flop. Just like officiating in basketball, I get his point. Officiating in basketball, we've talked about this for a while, is horrible. And now that you've introduced apparently DEI to it, like, I'm sorry, that's not a knock on the fact that women can't officiate, because I'm sure, like, mom would say, it's the person, not the sex of the person. I mean, I get it, but she was so clearly overmatched. And tell me why she's in a game like that when you've got the number 2, the number 4, and the number 5, and the number 12 programs in the country in UConn, Auburn, Iowa State, North Carolina, plus Blue Bloods, Michigan State. Plus, you've got a really good Dayton team, and you've got Colorado, and you've got a ghetto AAU team, but still a team that can get out and play and is hot right now in Memphis. You can't tell me you can't find better officials? Like, it's embarrassing. Almost as embarrassing as listening to Jay Billis, who praises and makes excuses for every team Michigan State plays as the greatest team they've ever played, and never says anything nice about Michigan State, except for Jace Richardson. The only good thing that Jay Billis does is the 94 feet thing. That's the only thing. Like, they should only have him for that. I like Dan Schulman. I think he does a good job. I don't need any more Jay Billis. He has become Dickie V. Jr. It's just like, it's too much to listen to. I put him with Gus Johnson and some of these other guys that I don't want to hear anymore.
The Big Ten's on ESPN, so we won't hear him too often.
Yeah, but let's talk quickly about Michigan State. I mean, since the last pod, I think we played Samford.
No, we had a pod, I think Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday after we played Samford? That was a good test for Michigan State. So in Maui so far, beat a pretty decent Colorado team, because the Colorado team that turned around and beat UConn today by 1, and handled them, beat them by 16, held them really in check. The guards played well, the bigs played well in that game, and then you fast forward to today.
They're horrible.
Michigan State finally made some threes. I think we were 7 for 18 or 7 for 20 after were 2 for 22 last night and dead last in college basketball. But then we couldn't shoot the 2. And our free throws, missed 7 free throws, whereas in Michigan State's been an 81% free throw shooting team. So it's like yin and yang. We trade to get making the 3 ball for missing free throws and missing bunnies. The bigs, here was one of my glaring stats from tonight. Zapala got in foul trouble, but 0 points, 3 rebounds. Kohler ended up having an okay game, 7 points, 8 rebounds.
4 turnovers.
But he had 4 turnovers. And Cooper had 0 points and 2 rebounds. So collectively, those 3 big guys had 7 points and 13 rebounds. That's not good enough. Collectively, those 3 guys need to be 15 and 15, in my opinion.
And even 12 and 12.
I thought Fiddler still not shooting the ball well, but he gets to the free throw line. More than half his points this year from the free throw line.
My issue is that he's completely
slow.
Outmatched.
Yeah, he's outmatched. He's too slow. He had 10 and 5. Holloman's been kind of persona non grata. He only had one turnover,
Not
but
been
just
great.
not doing great things. I thought Fears probably played one of his better games of the season tonight. He attacked a little bit more. Akins, he did some nice things. I said it, and I'm going to keep saying it. Jace Richardson is Michigan State's best player. He's the best player on both ends. He hustles. He works. He's phenomenal. Carr, I think, has improved. He still doesn't have a jumper to go to his game, but he's able to put the ball on the floor and do more than dunk, which is great. Booker, put a missile between his butt cheeks and fire him to the moon. He's just not very good. I still would like to see Kurtang get a chance to get some run in these games. Maybe we will tomorrow because guys have got to be gassed by now. It wasn't a bad loss to lose to Memphis. Memphis made some shots.
It would have been a very nice win.
They pulled some shots out of their ass. Let's be honest. Like, they made some contested threes and some contested shots that you couldn't do anything about. And Michigan State did not. Michigan State made only 15 two-point field goals, for the game. That's not good enough. And a lot of those were at the rim. And I get it. They block shots, but you've got to attack. You got to go strong. I think Michigan State will be just fine. There's a very good chance that whoever they play tomorrow, they'll lose to, and they'll be 5-3 coming home for 2 Big Ten games. But so then you lick your wounds, and you've got a few more tough games under your belt and go forward. I think this team has some potential. You're certainly not going to play a whole lot of teams that are athletic like Memphis, but that bodes well for March, I guess. But still, those are games you want to win because that's a game Michigan State easily could have won if they took a little bit better care of the ball.
Yeah.
My biggest gripe is, as you say all the time, Ryan, is some of the lineups.
The lineups.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Horrible.
Reset your starting lineup to, in whatever position order you want to call them, we'll go Fears, Akins, Richardson. I get it. Richardson off the bench gives you, but he's been our leading scorer, I think.
Carr, Kohler.
And then I would actually go, Carr at the 4, and then Kohler at the 5. And then I don't mind if Fiddler plays starter minutes off the bench when the matchups are right. I think he can do some things offensively. He's okay on defense. He's not horrible, but he can be outmatched depending on who they're playing. You want to continue to rotate. Zapawa didn't play very well today, but he's been a pretty consistent big man. So you want to give him more minutes, give Cooper a few less. That's totally fine. I think you limit Booker at this point in time. If his first shot doesn't go in, I think you tell him, look, if you don't make your first shot, you're playing 5 minutes today because he does nothing on offense aside from that. He does nothing on defense. He has no strength.
And he put on 25 pounds? I don't think so.
He's a liability for Michigan State. I would play, and you throw Holloman into that rotation. I think you got a really good guard rotation. I would play Tang a little bit more. I'd go a little bit smaller.
Yeah, small ball is Michigan State's best bet.
Michigan State's best lineups are when they go small ball, and that means Carr at the 4, where he can still attack, and he can put a 4 that's a little bit bigger than him on skates because he can go to the rack.
Yeah, no more Holloman, Fears, Carr, Kohler, Cooper lineups. Those are ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for the same song and dance for how long? 4 years, 5 years with this bull crap.
Yeah, the too big thing, it doesn't work, Tom. Like, figure that out.
Like, it's not 2006
Don't be
anymore.
Greg Mitchell and try to play all your bigs because you feel bad for them. Play your best players. You need Cooper because of foul trouble? Fine. No arguing that he's probably a better ball screen defender than Zapawa or Kohler. Kohler, I think, is probably honestly the best bet to play the most minutes there because he actually is more serviceable on offense.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Zapawa's bigger and he's a better probably rebounder defender, but I don't have as much beef with Kohler. One of his turnovers tonight was a blatant miss by the DEI ref. Right in front of her face, tipped by their guy, like as soon as it left his hand. Stupid.
Terrible.
But yeah, I will even say this. He doesn't need to shorten his bench. He often talks about shortening his bench as the season goes on. You don't need to do that. Michigan State's strength, I think, is the fact that they can run a lot of guys at you, but you gotta limit some of that bench. I think you limit Booker. If Booker sees his first one go in and he can give you 7, 8, 9, 10 points off the bench, great. if he goes 0 for like he did today, I think he was 0 for 4 from 3.
He was like 0 for 6 from the field, I think. He was awful.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Booker. 0 for 3 from the field. 0 for 2 from 3. If he doesn't see the first one go in, just yank him. It doesn't. What's the difference? You're going to break his confidence? What confidence?
Right. Yeah. I don't think he cares either. So
regardless of tomorrow, it's going to be what?
or North Carolina or Auburn, 2 really good teams.
Yeah.
Gonna be tough.
Another good test. What time is that game anyway?
I think it's the championship's at 5. I think it's after that, so 7:30.
Oh.
But yeah, back to the Dan Hurley thing. Like, I get his point about but him just saying, "Oh, we're UConn, we this, we
yeah, that's
that."
a very Michigan thing to say.
He's just a nut job. Like, if you ever look it up, go on TikTok, on
He's
YouTube,
angry.
look up him at practice and listen to what he says to his players. Like, you think that Izzo's a crazy ass? I would never want to play basketball again if someone said what he says to his players.
All right.
Like, that dude is a
You wouldn't have liked Bobby Knight then.
he is a psycho. And you know what I heard this on the game today when he did 94 feet with Jay Billis, but they were meditating instead. That's what Bobby Hurley or Danny Hurley is. He puts sage on the court where he knows are going to be good areas for them in holy water. And they put garlic by the other team's bench before the game. What is this, some voodoo ritual?
Yeah, that's not.
That's
like the
weird.
holy water might be Catholic, but the other stuff
It's
isn't.
just weird.
Yeah, that's
He's psycho. Dude's off his
Jeff
rocker.
Walgren reincarnated.
Yep. Psycho,
Jeff even
Psycho
owned it.
Jeff.
He owned it last
Psycho
night.
Jeff. All right, that's college basketball. Let's get to the National Football League.
Hold on a second before we get to that. A word from our presenting sponsor. Team Anders Realty will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
Yeah, they're the best in the business. December 7th, they got the wreath thing going on at Hart Family Farm.
Yeah, every spring around Memorial Day, they do get a planter from a local greenhouse, and then they do a tree or a wreath, coupon, and they have a coffee truck, and I mean, they're just the greatest people. Just such good people.
Yeah. All right, NFL Snow Globe Thursday night. Browns beat the Steelers. That game was awesome. That was Michigan State versus Penn State 2.0, the way that it was. And it kind of a similar finish where it was a crazy finish. So love that. That was fun. The Browns are terrible, but they got the win. Steelers looked very suspect in that game. They've been playing with fire for a while, and it finally burned them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that changes them. The Detroit Football Lions continue their winning ways, 9 in a row. Body bag the Colts 24-6. Have not allowed a touchdown in 10 quarters.
And they're doing it with attrition on defense. Like, lots of guys hurt.
Having a lot of second half touchdown in...
That's how they cut James Houston.
3 games. Cut him. Because he had that poop stain. That's probably why.
Why? I thought he's been doing some stuff from where they pull somebody else up better from the practice squad.
I think that they were just done with him. I think he had a bad attitude from what I've...
Oh, yeah, and that doesn't fit with that locker room.
But the Lions, they're getting hurt. It's not good. I think Decker might not play this week. Same with Davis. Same with Raymond for sure. That's not good, especially against the Bears, who have some pretty good receivers. But the Lions look good. I mean, the Colts have a good defense. They made them look silly for a lot of that game. 24-6. Pretty awesome. Vikings squeak by again. They are a 9-2
crazy
team.
onside
A
kick by
9-2
Chicago.
team that should be 6-5.
Yeah.
They are a bounce of the ball team like they were 2 years ago with Kirk Cousins when they won all those close games and then they lost in the first round of the playoffs. I think that's what's going to happen. They're bound to regress to the median too. So, but the Bears have lost 5 in a row, not looking great. Kind of limping into the Lions Thanksgiving game. Dolphins, they're the complete opposite. They started to play really well. 3
Got
in a
Tua
row
back, yeah.
since Tua came back 4 touchdown passes. Drake May continues to play well. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him in New England. Bucks smoke the Giants. The Giants are awful. Danny DeVito. Tommy DeVito, but he's terrible. Bucks finally got a win, 5-6 in a bad division. They still up for grabs. Cowboys Commanders was a nutso game. It was 3-3 for a long time, and then it just went ballistic. Commanders have struggled a lot.
Scored the game-tying, theoretically, touchdown, missed the extra point, and then ended up losing on the onside kick return.
3 losses in a row after a 7-2 start. Injuries are kind of hurting them, too. That's right.
That's where you see your depth, right? Like the Lions have some pretty decent depth to be able to fight through it the way they have. But you got to have some depth to fight through injuries because they're going to happen in a 17-game season.
Yeah, definitely.
Houston's reeling too. The Lions broke them.
The Lions broke them. They look bad. Stroud, after just an unbelievable
sophomore slump,
14 touchdowns, 9 picks, not great. Chiefs, also a paper tiger in my opinion. They're 10-1, yeah, but they're hardly winning. Like they should have lost to the Panthers.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
We got lucky, saved by the bell again. Broncos playing well, 7-5. Look like they could be a playoff team. Packers smoke the Niners. Niners are just hurt.
Yeah, they're beat up.
Tough. Seahawks over the Cardinals. Nice win. Eagles are playing really well. Smoked the Rams, and then their receiver got a DUI after the game. Lovely.
The Rams or the Eagles?
Robinson for the Rams.
Oh, man. Idiot. Freaking Barkley, 255 yards rushing.
He's had a really good season.
He's going beast mode.
Ravens in the Harbowl. John beats Jim again. The Chargers, they haven't beaten a team with a winning record yet.
No.
I'll preface that.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens got back on track. They're 8-4. The AFC is pretty good at the top, and then the bottom's The NFC is pretty solid all the way around. But yeah, that's this week. Big week. We got Thursday, Friday, Sunday games. The Black Friday game's terrible because it's Chiefs Raiders. The Raiders are just
2-9.
Train wreck, and Gardner Minshew broke his collarbones out for the season. Yikes. But that's the NFL. Let's get to Week 14 preview, the final week of the regular season. And then we'll do some conference championships and bowls.
All right.
Yay. Friday, Black Friday. Battle of Paul Bunyan's Axe. Minnesota travels to Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. I think Minnesota wins this game in a very close, low-scoring game. Wisconsin hasn't proven anything to me. They have a horrible quarterback. Their offense sucks. Their defense is okay, but they just gave up, 44 points to Nebraska, who's not some elite offense. So I'm going Minnesota, low-scoring. I think they win. Keep Wisconsin out of a bowl game. What do you think?
I'm counting
pretty close.
9 teams in the Big Ten are 5-6 or 6-5. Half the league.
The mid-10.
Wisconsin's playing for a bowl. It's at Wisconsin. Minnesota doesn't know how to win close games. I think Wisconsin gets this to get the bowl eligibility. I think the Big Ten's going to have a mess of 6-6 teams that have to fight over like the
pillow fight,
the Mayo Bowl, and the who cares what this bowl's called bowl.
Yep. Nebraska, Iowa. Another Black Friday game.
Oh, at night this year.
I'm going with the Hawkeyes. I think their defense wins them this game. Another low-scoring affair.
Yeah, that's tough because Nebraska finally woke up last week. It is at Iowa. Nebraska kind of can play a little looser now because they have that bowl slide off there. I mean, what's Iowa's situation? Their backup quarterback's out for the season, right? And McNamara's out, so they're their third string quarterback.
He did all right against Maryland.
Did okay against Maryland. I'm shooting for trying to overtake you this week. I'm gonna go with Nebraska and upset.
Feast or famine week.
Yeah,
literally on feast week. The game, probably the most
Illinois Northwestern.
Yeah, the least anticipated in the last few years. Michigan travels to Columbus. 20.5. That's a lot of points.
That is a lot of points for.
You know,
that
Ohio
rivalry
State
game.
has a bad taste in their mouth. They haven't beaten Michigan in a while. They want to body bag them. I just think that it's not going to. It's going to be like 30 to like 13 or so. I think Michigan's going to throw a punch early. They're going to come out with some weird stuff and score right away, and then not do much else. But I think Ohio State's going to dominate the game.
This is either
I think
going
Michigan's going to cover the 20.
It's going to go one of two ways. It's going to be a game for about 3 quarters where Ohio State's absolutely going to run a train on them. And I hope that it's the latter of the two. But given this rivalry, Ohio State, it's kind of like Michigan State in the Michigan games. We very rarely ever blow them out. We usually win close games. It's kind of the same for Ohio State. I agree. I think that's 3 touchdowns is a big spread to cover. Would it surprise me if they cover it? No, not at all, because Ohio State is supremely more talented than Michigan.
I think Ohio State's going to struggle.
The rivalry factor and the fact that they know that they've lost 3 in a row and they've got the pressure and the bullseye on them, I think keeps this game closer than it should be.
I think that Michigan might dominate in the interior of the D line against Ohio State's weak offensive line.
Yeah, good point.
So you're taking Michigan to cover.
Yep.
Illinois Northwestern, this game too, it's a decently close spread. Illinois. Northwestern sucks.
Them. Yeah.
Northwestern's terrible.
Northwestern
Illinois will
for.
sneakily get to 9-3.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. Maryland versus Penn State, 24 is the spread. Penn State's going to body bag them. You know, James Franklin wants the playoff so he can finally say, I made the playoff.
Right, exactly.
And Maryland's on a backup.
They need some some show me points.
Yeah, they're gonna get style points. They will
for matchup and hopefully a home game in the playoffs. So yeah, I agree.
Another awesome rivalry, historic Notre Dame USC. Pretty close spread in this one as well.
Notre Dame's going to cover that.
Notre Dame's going to win. I think we're going straight up on this since it's less than a touchdown. I think Notre Dame wins. I think they probably win by.
They have to win because if they lose, I don't think they make the playoffs.
They have no chance if they lose.
They have way more to play for.
Notre Dame's going to win. Fresno State versus UCLA. 9.5 is the spread. Fresno's not a bad team.
Yeah, bowl qualified.
I'm going with Fresno to cover. I don't know if they'll win. I think UCLA's surprised some people a little bit, but
yeah, they bounced back nicely after a slow start. But I mean, what do they have to play for? They're 4-7, can't make a bowl game. I agree. I think Fresno covers.
We go to dreary East Lansing, Michigan.
Before the Indiana. Oh, you're going in order of time. Yeah. Gotcha.
Michigan State Rutgers 1.5 was the last I saw it as for Michigan State. So straight up here, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I don't think Michigan State's gonna win. I really don't. I think Rutgers is gonna win this game like 21-10, and it's gonna be a somber ride home. I just don't have any confidence in Michigan State with the injuries. And Rutgers has a decent defense, good running back. I think they're going to control the clock, and they'll get like a pick 6 or something. And
this is why I think Michigan State is going to win this game. Rutgers reminds me offensively of Iowa. Kelly Ekmanis sucks. Cannot pass the ball. That means Michigan State can key on stopping the run. I think Michigan State comes out and wins this game in a surprising way and leaves everybody a little bit happier until we go to the Motor City Bowl. Well, and then are in a no-lose situation against a MAC team, or a no-win situation against a MAC team. I think Michigan State wins this game.
I hope you're right. I hope you prove me wrong.
Now, I would not be surprised to see them lay an egg, no question. We've talked about the why, but I think Michigan State, something just tells me that they're going to come out and they're going to play like they did against Iowa.
I hope you're right. Purdue, Indiana, 28. I think Indiana body bags them, covers it. They're going to be pissed. They want to make the playoff. They're going to blow them out. Not even going to be close.
Yeah, I would agree.
UW, University of Washington, versus Oregon.
Oregon's got a little payback in mind for 2 losses.
0-3. Dan Lanning is against Washington. 19 is the last spread I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon hasn't covered big spreads all year. I think that they don't again. I think that they'll win this game. I think it'll be comfortable, but I don't know if they cover 19. They haven't really rubbed it in on anybody except Michigan.
I think they cover.
All right. get a couple other ones outside the Big Ten, with it being a big week. Clemson versus University of South Carolina.
Big rivalry game.
Big game. Probably the biggest game in this rivalry in quite some time.
A win arguably puts both of them in good shape to get in there because Clemson's one spot out right now, and South Carolina's like 2 or 3 spots out. A win gives South Carolina legitimacy. A win gives Clemson more legitimacy, even for an at-large, because of strength of schedule improves greatly.
Yep. Is it going to be the Tigers or the Cockaboose? I'm going Tigers.
I think Clemson. I think
it's going to be a really good
South
game.
Carolina's been playing really well, but sorry, Meredith and Ryan and kids who are big Gamecocks fans. I got to go with Clemson in this game.
Texas A&M, a rivalry renewed.
It's too bad Texas A&M lost last week. Now they still have it in front
Whoever
of them.
wins goes
against
Georgia.
Georgia
In Atlanta. I'm going with the Longhorns, though. I think that
is it at Texas or at Texas A&M?
I think it's at Tamu.
That's such a vintage classic rivalry. It used to be Thanksgiving night when I was growing up. I would watch it on the couch in Selleryville, Ohio. After that was back when there was only 2 NFL games, the Lions and the Cowboys. I'm gonna go with Texas. I think it's gonna be a really good game though.
Moose has made a appearance on the podcast.
Oh, Moose, you want to be on the pod? Okay.
Moose, you gonna help us pick? You said Texas.
Yep.
Last one, Lions Bears classic.
Lions have sucked on Thanksgiving.
I haven't won since 2016. Changes. The Lions win against the stupid Bears. I'm tired of the Bears. The Lions beat them.
Lions might have to do with their offense because their defense is so banged up right now. But I agree.
All right, that's week 14 picks. We're almost there. All right, let's sprint this thing home. What is the one Thanksgiving food you won't touch with a 10-foot pole?
Cranberry sauce.
Yep, same. I hate it. I like cranberries. I do, but
I like dried cranberries, but not cranberry sauce or cranberry bars or
yeah, not.
No thanks.
It ain't
Close second is green bean casserole.
I love green bean casserole. Is Brian Kelly out after this year?
Are there rumors about that?
Sure.
Really? I mean, I guess
after losing Underwood, they've had a bad season.
That's not his fault that they lost Underwood. I mean, Michigan literally had a billionaire that opened up his. You know why? Because his wife wanted a quarterback.
I told you that. Yeah.
I read the story today. No, we're not even talking about Dave Portnoy.
No, I know it's a billionaire, some tech guy.
No, I don't think so. That's just.
I think
if they're willing to give that kind of money to a coach they fire, then why wouldn't they pay that kind of money to keep a quarterback?
True. All right. Is Dan Hurley getting to be the next Bobby Knight?
He's already there.
Yeah, I agree. He's a psychopath.
And here's the thing: is I'm a big RMK fan, but he's going a little bit over the top, I think.
Yeah. How full will Spartan Stadium be on Saturday the 30th?
Oh man, with $15 tickets, maybe that'll help. I'm gonna go
half.
I'll go half. Yeah,
35,000.
I mean, it was probably like a 65%. It was like 66% or so on last Saturday evening or last Friday evening, which was actually surprisingly pretty good. And then by the end of the game, it was about 20% full. I think it'll be about 50%.
Yep. All right, that is this week's pod. We appreciate you guys listening. Let us know what questions you want us to answer next week. Probably Tuesday again. Hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with family, friends. Eat some good food. Watch some good football and basketball. And I pray that I'm wrong about Michigan State, that they win. We can go sit in the first row in Ford Field for $20 tickets and get hammered at the Red Wings Hockey Town bar afterwards. Sounds delightful. And tailgate with Jerry, of course, at his house.
Oh, yeah, Jerry. I'm thankful for all of our listeners, too. We appreciate it. You know, it always makes it worthwhile coming down and doing the pod, even on a tired night, even after less than 24-hour rule with Michigan State losing. Lots of fun answering your questions and chit-chatting about sports with my son. Meantime, as Cicero once said, a thankful heart is not only the greatest virtue, but the parent of all other virtues.